Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharacham Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्. हरि ओम. We were seeing the topic of Shabda Pramana, where we had seen the nature of Vedas. More conviction we have in the nature of Pramana, more we understand how Pramana works, more will be the stability, the depth in our knowledge taking place through that Pramana. That is the whole purpose of taking up this topic of Pramana Vichara. Just like with my eyes, I don't have a doubt that whatever color these eyes have shown, that is the only means of knowledge. In the same way, whatever Upanishads are revealing to us, same conviction should be there that if Upanishad says, I am Brahma, there is no second question about it. If we have a question, then Ramana Maharshi says, he uses a very strong word. He says, we lack in sadhana chatushkaya. Bhuyo vicharaha mati durbalatvam. Saddarshanam, Ramana Maharshi says this. Ahasputam tattvamasiti vedaha. Once Upanishad has said, you are that Brahma, it is just like Pramana saying something. Eyes are saying this is green color, this is maroon color. So what else are you waiting for? Which other Pramana are you waiting for to come and validate this understanding? Neither can any other Pramana come and validate it, nor can it come and refute it. Why? Because Pramana, wherever it works, it has only one exclusive, it is the only one exclusive means of knowledge. Anadigatam. That also we had seen. So when we do our sadhana, walk on the spiritual path, with this conviction of Pramana, along with a pure mind, say that is like giving a lot of boost in our spiritual journey. Even in meditation, whichever topics we take for Nididhyasanam, it is not some kind of bhavana that we are doing. Somehow or the other, I am telling myself, I am Asanga, I am infinite, I am Ananda Swarupa. No, it is Pramana Vakya. It is up to me to understand how that statement is true. Okay. So this analysis is separate topic. There are different Prakarana Granthas which are written for that. So that is a different area of discussion. But time and again, we should just take a step back because this should not become like a technical topic. That we studied how Vedas are Apaurushaya, how Vedas are Anadi. All of that is just to strengthen the conviction in ourselves that this knowledge is authentic. If we own it up, nothing like it. It will not get contradicted. It will remain the same. So last session, we had seen some points about why Vedas are Anadi. Because avidya is anadi. Avidya is anadi, jivatva will be anadi, sense of individuality. If that is anadi, karma pravaha will be anadi. Out of that incompleteness, whatever karmas we have been doing. And pravaha means flow of karma. And if karma pravaha is anadi, naturally the karma phala pravaha is anadi. In the beginning, whenever we think of karma phala, we think of it as a fruit. Phala means we think like just we have mango phalam, another phalam. Karma is also like a phalam. But when we study Vedanta, that fine tuning should happen. That karma phala means anything and everything that gives me experiences. So what gives me experience? I say this world. And if I have to get that experience, I need body and mind. If these two things are not there, no matter what is there outside, experience will not come. Like when we are sleeping, somebody comes and shakes our hand, says nice things to us. So when you wake up, you will not have any experience of it. Why is that? Body and mind were not there. So body, mind, and this world together is called as karma phala. Now, based on karma, there is plus and minus, what kind of sharira we get, what kind of yoni we go into. And remember, sharira is not only human body. Body of a tree, body of an animal, that is also sharira. So according to that, there are different worlds that are created. According to karmas, there are different worlds that are created. But main point is, what governs all these things? Just like a country will have governing principles, the governing principle of this universe is called as Veda. Anadi, and that which is Apaurusheya. Now these are schools of thoughts. Some of you might ask, what happens to other people who don't believe in Vedas? What is their constitution? See, they will have some place, some altar at which their head will bow down to. And we appreciate and acknowledge all different darshanas, all different religions, as long as it is in line with some fundamental things. And most all religions are in general. About dharma, no religion will say we should live an adharmic life. Right? So dharma is taken care of. Now about nature of moksha, there all Mahatmas will have their own different opinions. What is the nature of moksha? Where does it culminate into? What is the purpose of life? And we appreciate their opinion also. We don't have to subscribe to it. When it comes to our conviction, there should be a lot of clarity. Truth cannot be discussed in a way just to please everybody. Right? If Darshanikas are sitting and they say, let us just agree upon one thing which is okay for everybody. It is not in that way. Shankaracharya, when he writes Bhashya, so many Purva Paksha he raises, and he does Khandanam also of the other opinion. But we should remember, it is not Khandanam of the person. Khandanam means criticism. It is Khandanam of their viewpoint. Means he says, Upanishad says this, if you take that as your viewpoint, then these are the problems that you will have. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is the only Acharya who has written Bhashya on every word of Upanishad. Other Darshana Acharyas, they have written on summary. Means entire mantra they would have written Bhashya. But Shankaracharya ji opens up each and every word. So there is no ambiguity. He says, if you want to inquire into nature of truth, let us have a honest discussion. So that part also we should keep in mind, not to just, get carried away by what happens to other people. He says, what about, where is our conviction right now? Is my conviction in Veda? Because ultimately, moksha is an individual journey. Right? We might be together in other things, but it is said when it comes to moksha, sadhana has to be done by the sadhaka, and this knowledge also has to take place in the sadhaka. Right? It cannot be for somebody else or something like that. Then we saw the parampara, from where this knowledge comes, from Bhagwan himself all the way until Brahmaji and then the rishis who meditated upon this truth that was revealed to them. This is where I wanted to conclude last time, but we ran out of time. I'll give a simpler introduction to this. Maybe then we can enter into the technical part. Many times you'll notice we try to bring scientific terms in Vedanta, or we try to use Vedantic terms in science. He said, does matter mean Maya? Dark energy which is there, does it mean Maya Shakti? Or when it comes to Vedanta, we will use scientific terms. We say energy is not created, not sustained, not destroyed. It's only converted from one form to another. Is Brahman also like that? Not created, not destroyed. It is good as long as it helps us get clarity. But in tradition, this is not encouraged. Just like every discipline has their own terminologies, and we don't use medicine words in physics. We don't use mathematics words in medicine, unless it is relevant. We don't just try to fit it in and understand in some other way. Say, why Vedanta we should? Vedanta has its own vocabulary and very, very precise words. Okay, that is one. Second is, sometimes we feel, is science and Vedanta at conflict? Means is science saying one thing and Vedanta will say something else. Vedanta says there is non-duality. If you use some microscope or a telescope to find nature of this world, will we find some matter which is non-dual, that is homogeneous, that is infinite? Through some experiment, let us try to find what is that substratum of this creation. You say, whatever science comes up with, is it at a conflict with what Vedanta is going to say? So here it is said, one has to do Praman Vichara to understand what is the area in which Vedanta Pramana will work. In Vedanta Pramana, Vakya Pramana. Like we had 6 different Pramanas, right? Out of that, Shabda Pramana we said is Apta Vakyam Shabdaha. So that Vakya Pramana, where is it actually going to work? Okay, there are 2 places. It is said, one is, if an object is Nitya Paroksha. Okay, Nitya Paroksha, this word we have discussed before. Pratyaksha means right which is in front of our sense organs, which becomes an object of our sense organ. Pratyaksha. Paroksha means that which does not become or is not becoming an object of our sense organs. Now, if you say some place in this world itself, like you go to New York. Now, New York is Paroksha for us right now. But if you go there, then it will become Pratyaksha in this life itself. But some place like Swarga, one cannot go with this physical body. Okay, so that is why that word is added, Nitya Paroksha. Okay, Nitya Paroksha means in this life, if you want to know what is Swarga, so we will not have ability to go with this physical body. If somebody has that desire, that person will become like Trishanku. He wanted to go to Swarga with this physical body. He was sent down. He said, not with this physical body. We have a different Sharira there. But whether or not Swarga is there, what is the nature of Swarga? what rituals have to be done here so that this jiva can go to Swarga? So only pramana for that is Veda pramana. No other pramana will talk about it. It is apaurushaya, it is aptavakya. That is why it is important to understand that if Vedas have said there is a place called as Swarga, there is a place called as Swarga. And it might not be the goal of life. Swarga, Vedas don't say going to Swarga is the goal of life, which is okay. But at least we can appreciate or understand that just like we have this world, in the same degree of reality, there are other worlds also. So science will tell something which becomes an object of our sense organs. Okay. Something like Swarga, which would never become an object of our sense organ, how can it validate it or how can it refute it? And another thing we should remember, these things, if somebody has Shraddha in, that, in rituals or in whatever sadhana, we don't do that complicated rituals, but we say, if Bhagwan has said that if I'm doing my sadhana sincerely, I'm a devotee of Bhagwan, he will take care of my journey hereafter. Right? This much is sufficient, and only when somebody has this kind of faith in the karma portion, their conviction in owning up Mahavakya, that pramana, that faith in pramana will help over there also. One cannot say, I don't believe in Vedas for all this sadhana, Swarga and everything, but I will hold on to Vedas for Mahavakya pramana. There are schools of thoughts which have done that, but our understanding will be very, shaky over there. Okay, Nitya Paroksha, in that Vakya is pramana. What dharma should be done so that it will lead us to that destination. Second is, Vakya is pramana for that object which is Nitya Aparoksha. It never becomes an object of sense organ, but it is not there elsewhere also. Meaning it is not that after some time it will become an object of our sense organ. It is not pratyaksha, it is not paroksha. So that which remains is aparoksha. So Atma, if one has to know the nature of Atma, Atma means I or Aham. What is the nature of Atma? See, there is no other pramana which will reveal it. So through science, if we are trying to inquire into nature of Atma, Vedanta has only one simple question. Whatever that object we are searching, is it drashta or is it drushya? Means through some experiment, through some instrument, if you are trying to search something, will it become an object of knowledge or will it be the seer? I say it will become an object of knowledge. So anything which becomes drushya, anything which becomes an object of knowledge will be jada. It will be part of this creation, it will be inert. You can just see around, whatever we see, he says inert only, you cannot see consciousness. Oh, I see this person who is, alive and moving around and everything. See, we are seeing their sharira. Sharira is Panchamahabhuta, it is inert. Okay. So to know nature of Atma, only pramana we have is Upanishad pramana. To know that I exist, we don't need Upanishad pramana actually. Right? My idea of I exist is there even without Upanishad pramana. But my understanding is I exist only with this physical body. Okay. As long as physical body is there, until that point, I exist. If physical body is not there, I say I don't exist. To remove that notion, Upanishad Pramana has come. You are of the nature of that Sat, in which this physical body and this entire creation gets existence. Whether that physical body is there or not there, you will continue to exist as Sat. This is the role of Upanishad Pramana on top of what we already know. Right? To know that I am existing, Upanishad did not tell us that point. But our avidya, you call, ignorance is, we have mixed up our existence with some conditioning of this physical body. And with holding on to that, we define our true nature. So I say I exist, but I exist only when this physical body is there. I say I am a sentient being, right? But that sentiency is also mixed up with sense organs and mixed up with mind. Why do we say we are sentient beings? We say because I can see, because I can hear, because I can think. Now those are indicators, but that does not mean it is my nature. Sense organ and mind in particular, it is not our true nature. To remove this erroneous notion, what has been included in this consciousness, to remove that, Vakya Pramana has come. Ananda is the most important part. Now and then we get glimpse of Ananda. And if we do some sattvic sadhana or somewhere Vishayas are not there, we know that we feel that joy even without any object. Right? But that joy has Ananda and some thought. Mind has become very quiet. So that thought is there of some sattvic nature, then this Ananda gets reflected there. Vedanta Pramana has come to tell us that you are Ananda Swarupa, not even this reflected Ananda. So this is nature of Atma, which is Sat Swarupa, Chit Swarupa, and Ananda Swarupa. This is that you are, not this mind which has all limitations, not this physical body, and of course not anything of this world outside. World outside means we have mamatva somewhere, and that becomes as though part of our personality. Best example is car. Some scratch on the car, I feel somebody has done something to me. So in that, to understand nature of Atma, Upanishad Pramana has come. All indicators are part of that Atma only. Indicators of Atma, whatever is pointed out. Kenopanishad, we are studying several of them, right? Atma is Nitya, Atma is Asanga, Sarvantaraha, Swayam Jyotihi. Now those precise indicators we will not get by our own intellection. Atma is Nitya. You can use logic to support whatever Upanishad is saying. There is one sentence which says, Atindriya Vishaye Vedaha Pramana. Atindriya Vishay means that object which is beyond our sense organs. Swarga is also Atindriya. Brahma is also Atindriya. But not in the sense of Swarga. Means you don't have to go somewhere and become Brahma. It is aparoksha. That is why it is beyond sense organ. There is one shloka which highlights what is this Veda Pramanyam. It says, Pratyakshenanu mityava yastu payona buddhyate. By pratyaksha and anumana, that whose knowledge cannot take place. Yastu payona buddhyate. Enam vadanti vedena tasmat vedasya vedata. This is the topic of Veda. Which is the topic? That which doesn't become an object of pratyaksha and anuman. Means through sense organs we cannot figure out, even by intellection we cannot know the nature. That atindriya vishaya is the topic of Vedas. So they will never contradict science. Whenever it comes of things in the world outside, we say science is pramana, not Vedanta. Right? If somebody is saying, what should I do for this particular situation? You say, for that particular situation, a lot of guidance is given in sadhana portion. And there are Vedangas or separate Shastra written for each one. For Chikitsa, there is Ayurveda Shastra. For Rajaniti, there will be some other Shastra. So they will be pramana when it comes to the world outside. But when it comes to nature of Brahma, this is there, they won't be pramana. Pramana is Upanishad Vakya. Before we went to Vedanta course, I came across a book. It was transcribed lectures of Chandrasekhara Bharati Swamiji, Shrangeri Mata, Acharya who was there. He has given some lectures in the early 90s. That time no tape recorder or anything. Somebody had transcribed it in Coimbatore. In English they have translated it. And he used to speak mainly on Veda Pramana. Several other topics also, importance of Dharma, but a lot of Swamiji's lectures are on Veda Pramana. That if somebody says we are a dharmic person, how much reverence we should give for study of Upanishads. How much reverence we should give for living a dharmic life. Both places, Veda is only Pramana. And there he used to quote shlokas like this. Pratakshena numityava yastu payono buddhyate enam vadanti vedena tasmat vedasya vedata. And 1 hour on that he would speak. And without any background of Pramana, without any background of all these topics, you would not appreciate what is the depth in which he is giving that knowledge. But later when you study all this to whatever extent we can, Vedanta is like an ocean. We can never say we have studied enough. And then you go back and read their discourses, such a joy. What all things they are giving in a very simple language, but it demands some study, Pramana and other things. So Dharma, if somebody wants to know, Dharma jijnasamananam pramanam paramam shrutihi. Doing this action, some result will come. No pramana from other sources will guide us there. We all know eating tulsi leaf is healthy. It is good for health, right? There are a lot of studies also that are done. If you eat basil, it gives a lot of immunity inside. You put it in that hot water. So many things people do. But if you say eating tulsi leaf gives punya, because it is worship to Bhagwan, offering that tulsi leaf to Bhagwan and then eating it as prasad, that gives punya. He says that is part of dharma. First part, it is good for physical health, was part of science. Their science is pramana. Veda is pramana when certain sadhanas that we do will give us punya karma. To know that, Vedanta or Veda Vakyas become pramana. And next, Brahma jijnasamananam pramanam paramam shrutihi. Those who want to know the nature of Brahma, there also the main pramana is Upanishad. What about other Prakarana Granthas? Are they not pramana? Because it was composed later. Tattva Bodha we studied, Atma Bodha, Drigdrishya Viveka. So they are also pramana because they say the same thing which is said in Upanishad. If they say something else, then we say it is not pramana. Last topic, and then we'll conclude. Shabda pramana, when we say, what we mean in particular is Mahavakya. Okay, what was the definition of Shabda Pramana? Apta Vakyam Shabdaha. So which Vakyam? So many Vakyas are there. In particular, there is Mahavakya, which is Pramana. Other Vakyas, other statements which are there, some of it might be just a reiteration of our own notions. Because Upanishad starts with where we are, systematically redefines our own experience, and then shifts our attention to our true nature. So if you see some portion where it is said you are a jiva, or you are a transmigratory entity going from one avastha to another avastha. So there we should know this is called as adhyaropa. Okay, Upanishad wants to systematically define what we already are experiencing, but not by itself, by bringing Atma into the picture. And then the teaching will be you are not any of these conditionings, okay, which is called as apavada. What remains is Atma. I just summarized it. It's a very detailed topic. When we take up texts which discuss these topics, slowly we will open it up more. So this we had seen in our Fundamentals of Vedanta retreat last year. One part of Vedanta is to inquire into who am I? What is our understanding when we did not study Vedanta or just started our spiritual journey? Not even I am body. See, some title of this physical body. No, I say I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor. But then Vedanta says those titles are for body. It has come in a time. Okay. But it doesn't stop there. It says whenever you look at physical body, understand the substratum or the place from where this physical body has come is consciousness. That is why the discussion of creation is there. In Tattva Bodha we had seen, right? From consciousness with Maya Upadhi, all elements come. From those elements, sense organs, physical body, everything emerges. Now, why did we discuss all of that? To remind us that when we look at physical body, we should know that the main ingredient which is there is Chaitanya. Same with prana. Prana I am familiar with. You say, while you think about prana, know that there is consciousness from which this prana has emerged. Rajasic aspect, samashti rajasic aspect, pranas emerge. And then mind and intellect also. So like this, each entity which I am familiar with, Vedanta says, start from there, but go to your true nature, which is consciousness. This is only 50% Vedanta. Vedanta is not complete with inquiry into who am I. Second half of Vedanta, after the intermission, what is the substratum of creation? Creation is infinite. So just like this body had a substratum, this creation also has emerged from one entity. If creation is infinite, that entity also should be infinite. Right? If space is infinite, substratum of that space should also be infinite. That we call as Brahma, which is nirguna, without any attributes, but it is infinite. Now the student says, what is so great about this? Let the Brahman be substratum of creation and let I be Atma. Right? I am that consciousness and this creation has emerged from consciousness. What is so great about it? Vedanta says there is something really great because you are that consciousness. You are that Brahma in which this entire creation is appearing. They are not two different similar things. It is the same thing. If you look at it from Tvampada side, you will notice all pranas, mind and everything is appearing there. And look at it from creation standpoint, we realize entire creation is rooted in this consciousness. This is the Mahavakya we are going to study in Chandogya Upanishad. Upanishad Rishi uses several methods to shift attention from what we are familiar with, body, prana, mind, to Atma first. And he shows about how this creation has come about from that consciousness. And then Aikyam is done to show you are that consciousness. Now somebody might ask, how did this do my dukkha nivritti? Right? Because this body, prana, mind, they also remained, creation also remained. What happened? What changed after Vedanta? What changed is Satyatva Buddhi, a reality which was given to this body, prana, mind, and creation, that was taken away. Vakya Pramana only did this. If Vakya Pramana has done it, that means previously I did not know it because of ignorance. Okay, not that Shabda Pramana will come and do everything or take away everything of this creation in terms of, literally take away everything. It is just like, how did that snake go away from that rope? Right? Just by clear knowledge, that snake which was not there, that was understood as mithya. So this, we have to keep thinking about it whenever we do creation inquiry. When we say 5 elements came from Chaitanya, body came from consciousness, prana came from consciousness. Whatever has emerged from consciousness emerges just in the way that illusory snake emerges from the rope. Because it is an appearance, that is why we can do apavada. Okay? So that thinking also we have to keep doing. Otherwise, we'll always have this question, I am Brahman. But what happened to all these things? Body, prana, mind, intellect, and creation. So it is understood as mithya. Understood, huh? If you say that the snake has to really go away, you say it cannot go away because it is not there. If you say it has gone away, then there is some erroneous understanding. All right, so quick recap in 5 minutes, whatever we have. A few minutes we'll go over because some points we'll again see. So we saw 6 pramanas: Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Arthapatti, Anupalabdhi, Shabda. First time when I studied, at least I got familiar with the names of these pramanas. Okay, each one is an elaborate discussion by itself, but at least being familiar with, this is what our rishis have thought about. We are Uttaradhikari, right, of our rishi culture. So at least knowing the names of them. Then we looked into what is the nature of knowledge. Before we started discussing, we first saw the importance of knowledge. Even in worldly sense, we had seen all accomplishments are because of knowledge only. And knowledge, what is the nature? We said it is anadigatam, not known by any other means. It is abaditam. It doesn't get negated. Okay, just like that pencil in the water. You take it out, clear knowledge should take place that with conditioning it appears like this. Without conditioning, this is how its nature is. Okay, it is abaditam. Asandigdam, there are no doubts in it. And smriti vilakshanam. There is no recollection involved in this. First pramana we saw was Pratyaksha Pramana, where we saw several other opinions of different other schools of thought. But Vedanta said there is only one consciousness. That consciousness alone is appearing as the knower, pramata. Conditioned by the mind, it becomes pramana, that thought. Conditioned by objects of this world, it becomes prameya. Okay, so Pratyaksha Pramana is when the conditioned consciousness, they come together. Okay, Pramata, Pramana, and Prameya Avachinna Chaitanya in one place at one time. that becomes Pratyaksha Pramana. Main takeaway is, even while we are doing our Vyavahara, if we understand how this Pratyaksha works, taking our mind to that Chaitanya. That is the main takeaway. Then we saw Anumana Pramana. Anumana was Linga Paramarshaha Anumana. Means after Pratyaksha, that inference that we can derive, that is called as Anumana. Looking at the indicator, you can guess, not in guess that sense, you can get Prama, you can understand that there is this other thing also which is there. Okay, looking at green color, that bacteria which is there, that could be understood. Then we saw how to apply this Pramana. Anumana Pramana, there are 5 elements to it. Pratijna, Hetu, Drishtanta, Upanaya and Nigamanam. Very systematic way of putting forth a point, then giving a reason for that, saying on what basis I'm giving this reason. Vyapti, I have gathered. And giving one example also to support it. And then making sure that this example aligns with my main point that I want to communicate. And then concluding with that topic. Then we saw several examples also how Anumana Pramana is used in Vedanta. Kenopanishad examples we saw, like this example also is from Kenopanishad, it will come later. You don't have to write down anything, I'm just recapping. If you feel I'm going fast, it's because all these slides are there, and this one also I will upload. Upamana Pramana is a very unique Pramana where knowledge is gained through similarity. Sadrushya Pramakaranam Upamanam. You know one thing, through that knowledge is gained of something which is unknown right now. So you know the chiku fruit, through that we know the knowledge of kiwi. You know Sushupti Avastha, through that we know the knowledge of, or understand, try to fathom what is Jivan Mukti like. Okay, that was Upamana Pramana. Then came Arthapatti Pramana, where the main thing was Karya Karana Bhava. In Anumana Pramana, they just went together. Smoke and fire, there is no cause-effect relationship, very strong cause-effect relationship. But when it comes to Arthapatti, there is a very strong Karya Karana Bhava. Only thing is, you are seeing the result, you are seeing the effect, but that cause is not present right now. Just like the ground is wet, but it is not raining right now. But you say, unless it has rained, this effect is not possible. Through that, we went into several discussions about, the creation, different elements which are there, how every sense organ, is having connection with its each element. All of that is Arthapatti. How does Dharma give rise to Punya, Punya give rise to Sukham? That connection was also Arthapatti. Then came Anupalabdhi Pramana, where through absence we were able to get knowledge. Okay, we have seen something in a particular place, particular time, but at some point we don't see it, then we get knowledge that this thing is not there. New person will not get it. Okay, that is what makes the difference between Anupalabdhi. And last and the most important Pramana was Shabda Pramana, where we discussed about Laukika and Alaukika. Laukika we are very familiar with, news we get and other articles we read, that continuously influences our thinking. But because it gets Badita, it is not Prama. Okay, Badita means it gets negated. What we are interested in is Alaukika Shabda Pramana. In particular, it is Veda Pramana. And within Veda, what we study is Vedanta. Within Vedanta, it is Mahavakya. So we should go finer and finer and know what exactly are we seeking. Because Upanishads say Tat Tvam Asi. It is Apta Vakya. One cannot ignore that statement. So we have to put forth effort, and there are sufficient texts written on how to understand this statement, that you are substratum of this creation. What does you mean? In Tattva Bodha, how did Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji say? You are Bhagavan. You are Ishvara. He says that is the statement of Upanishad. Tat Tvam Asi. Now we all know we cannot take the literal meaning. With this conditioning of body, mind, you say, Bhagavan, I am the dust, you are the mountain. I am the drop, you are the ocean. But if you leave the name and form, from the water standpoint, the drop can say to the ocean, I am you yourself. Only from water standpoint, not from the drop standpoint. So holding on to this body, holding on to this mind, one cannot establish that oneness. Goswamiji said, Janata tumahi hoi jai. Having known you, Bhagavan, I become you. And previous part was, Janai bhagata urachanda. Bhagavan, as this conditioning, jiva, mind and everything, to live a very cheerful life, you are like that sandalwood. You keep my mind calm. You give me a lot of inner strength in my vyavahara. But in my essence, I am one with you. Okay, so this is Shabda Pramana. And then we saw why Vedas are not Paurusheya. All these limitations will come and one cannot call it as Pramana. If you don't take Shabda Pramana, you are not left with any other Pramana. Then you tell which Pramana are you going to use to know nature of Atma. It is called as Anirmoksha Prasanga. If you let go of Shabda Pramana, you are letting go of moksha. Shankaracharya uses this word. He says Anirmoksha Prasanga. But the final point is where we started. What did Goswamiji say? Mukura malina aru nayana bihina rama rupa dekahi kimidina. Means in our spiritual journey, we need both these things. One part is lot of sadhana, lot of maturity in our spiritual, unfoldment, perspective about this world. In particular, acceptance. What we say in Karma Yoga, all those things are part of sadhana, that is called as purity of mind. The result of that sadhana is one should do Praman Vichara and get this clear knowledge for oneself. Okay. This is our prayer to Bhagavan, and I was very happy we could take up this topic, something that we don't get to study very often. But we'll keep referring back to whatever ideas we had studied. So we'll pause here, and there were two concepts that two sadhakas had requested to cover, that we will cover. If there are more questions also, you can turn them in. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Next week, Tuesday and Thursday morning, we will have guided meditation. Okay, no point in starting a new text before Thanksgiving. So half an hour from 6:30 to 7, we will have guided meditation. One concept that was requested was Anvaya Vyatireka. What is Anvaya Vyatireka? First, I will recap what we had discussed before, then I will add something more. Anvaya, simple meaning is that which continues. If you look at one thing in three different scenarios, that thing which has continued in all three scenarios, that is called as Anvaya. If you split the word, it is Anu Aya. Which Sandhi happens? Yana Sandhi. Anu plus Aya becomes Anvaya. In person, I can ask. Online. Anu Aya means that which happens after. Anu over here, Anu means it goes after. Means in all three scenarios, that which continues, Anu Ayati, the Anvaya. Vyatireka means that which does not continue, which keeps changing in all three scenarios. That is called as Vyatireka. So example we had seen was a gold ring. Scenario number 1, gold ring. What are the things that we see here? Gold is there and ring name and form is there. You take another scenario where we melt the same thing and make it into a bangle. What is there? So gold is there, but now new name and form has come. Ring name form Vyatireka has happened and bangle name and form has come. Again melt it, make it into a necklace. Gold continues. Name and form of that bangle has gone away. Vyatireka has happened. And then necklace name and form has come. Now, whenever you give this example, people say, why do you give gold example all the time? You have any other example for Anvaya Vyatireka? We say, yes. You see this one now. All of you have seen that origami paper, right? You have just one paper. Out of that, you make a dinosaur. You say, what is there? Paper is there, dinosaur name and form is there. Open it up, make a nice, cute little puppy. Okay. Vyatireka of dinosaur name and form has happened. Anvaya of paper has happened. Again, go to bird. Vyatireka of bird, the puppy name and form has happened. Paper has continued. Now pay attention for this. The whole purpose of discussing was for this point. What is the relationship between the dinosaur name and form and paper? You say dinosaur name and form has got nothing to do with that paper. Okay. You can say, paper can say, I am Asanga. Name and form is only appearing. It is not my essential nature. You fold me in whichever way, I will appear in that way. But because you have folded me into a puppy, I have not become a puppy. Because you have folded me into a bird, I have not become a bird. So purpose of doing Anvaya Vyatireka is to understand that whichever Vyatireka happens, that is not the essential nature of that particular thing. Whosever Anvaya is happening, that alone is the essential nature. Vyatireka happening is not essential nature of that thing. Now you look at Vedanta. What we first saw as gold, dinosaur. In waking state, that is scenario number 1. What are the things that are there? You say Atma is there, gross body, subtle body, and causal body. Causal body, you just understand it as avidya. It is not another body. Subtle body is thoughts, gross body is this physical body. Now go to dream state. What has happened? Anvaya of Atma has happened. Just like Anvaya of paper happened here. Atma continued, but gross body Vyatireka happened. Okay. In dream, there was no gross body. Subtle body was there. That is why we could see dream. Thoughts were there, everything. Causal body always continues. Then in deep sleep, Atma continues. Gross body Vyatireka happens. Subtle body Vyatireka happens. Causal body, because it is avidya, unless it is, destroyed through knowledge, it will continue. But the main point is, apply the same understanding to this example. Just like that paper said, I have nothing to do with this dinosaur name and form, puppy name and form, bird name and form, because Vyatireka is happening. It is coming and going. Whatever comes and goes is not me. So Atma can say, whatever comes and goes in form of this gross body and subtle body is not me. In Bhagavatam, it is said, if one understands this carefully, they will get moksha. And this alone is the sole purpose of inquiry. Etavadeva jijñāsam tattva jijñāsunātmanah anvaya vyatirekābhyam yat syat sarvatra sarvada. Main sadhana given in Bhagavatam is anvaya vyatireka. Etavat. This alone you do, that is sufficient. Just get this clear conviction, whatever comes and goes is not me. It is an upadhi we can enjoy, just like we are enjoying these names and forms, right? And we are using it in the right way also. Ring will be worn in the finger only, bangle on the wrist only, necklace on the neck only. In the same way, all vyavahara that we do with body, mind, intellect, everything will be in its own place. But conviction is, these are upadhis, this is not who I am. Okay? I hope that gave a different perspective from what we had seen before on Anvaya Vyatireka. Second question was, how do you understand Vritti Vyapti and Phala Vyapti in the context of Brahmakara Vritti? This point also we had seen, but again, let us reflect upon it. Main thing that Vedanta wants to say is, there is only one non-dual truth. That is what is Chaitanya, that you are. Now, how will this knowledge take place? Any knowledge for that matter, knowledge of the world, knowledge of Brahma also, how does it take place? To explain this systematically, we have the concept of Vritti Vyapti and Phala Vyapti. Okay, so then it is said, this mind by itself is inert. It is apanchikrita panchamahabhuta. It doesn't have ability to know anything. It won't know the world also, it will not know Brahma also, by itself. But because it is made up of sattvic aspect, there is this reflected consciousness that is expressing in this mind. Antakarana, that is what it is. Now you see that line which is there. These are all pictorial depictions. Don't think that this Antakarana is right here and there is a partition in between. Okay, that is the thing we should avoid. One part of it is called as Pramata, the knower. Knower is the one who will claim that I have known this thing. Okay. Means without Pramata, even if object is there in front, knowledge will not take place. Or even if I'm seeing something, but if Pramata is absent, gone somewhere, thinking something else, knowledge does not take place. So that individual who claims a knowledge, that individual is Pramata. Another part of Antakarana is Pramana. Pramana means thought in over here, Vritti. So the same consciousness which is appearing as this mind, appearing as this thought, that consciousness will go and pervade Prameya, which is an object outside. Okay, so that thought alone has to take the form of that object. We never see the world outside actually. Okay, this is Bauddha Darshana. We never see the world outside. What we are interacting is with thought of the world. Whether that is outside or inside, that's a different question. Okay. We say in dream also, you see distance between objects, right? We walk somewhere. Seeing that distance, does it mean that dream is seen outside? Or there is actually some space, in our dream that we can go around? So, in the same way here also, just appreciating this point that object by itself is not seen. It is only a thought which goes and brings that object in our mind. More clear one is able to create that thought, more clear is the knowledge. So that portion is called as vritti vyapti. And when this thought has taken that form, this pramata claims that I have understood this object, this knowledge has taken place. That is called as phala vyapti. Now both these things, vritti vyapti and phala vyapti, are the play of chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. There is no phala vyapti in Atma, there is no vritti vyapti also in Atma. Okay, both these things are only the play of chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. Now the question was, what is the role of vritti vyapti, phala vyapti in the context of brahmakara vritti? Object of a laptop, object of a guitar, music, here also vritti only takes place. All those are laukika vishaya. They become object of knowledge. Now to know or get knowledge of Brahma, vritti vyapti is needed, but not in the sense that it is needed for knowing objects of the world outside. Vritti is Upanishad Vakya Janya Vritti. Now, Praman Vichara, you should be familiar now. Just like Pratyaksha Pramana can create a Vritti, Upanishad Pramana also can create a Vritti. Vritti means a thought. And that thought is Pramanika Vritti. It is not just random thought which has come, it has come through Pramana. Okay, so vritti vyapti, what it will do is, it will negate all the erroneous conditionings that we have taken upon ourselves. That is the main role of vritti. Mahavakya also does the same thing. When we hear the Mahavakya Tattvamasi, or when we understand it, that vritti which takes place is that I am not these conditionings. That is the role of vritti. Again, you don't have to bring this ahankara or this knower to say that I know that Brahma. Why? Because vritti vyapti has already negated that ahankara also. So that ahankara doesn't need to come back and say, I know this Brahman. Just like it said, I know this object. Because that vritti was different. That vritti was an vritti of an object. It did not do anything to this ahankara. Okay. So when we say Brahmakara vritti, it first removes everything of prameya. It removes all the conditioning that we have taken upon ourselves. And it removes itself also. Krutva jnanam swayam nashet jalam katakarenuvat. It is that, what is that katakarenuvat vritti that you are talking about? It is the same vritti, Brahmakara vritti only. After it has done its job, after it has negated everything, it doesn't have to claim again anything. So saying I am Brahma is also an erroneous statement. Okay. It is needed only until I think I am this body, or I think I am this mind. So then it is helpful to remove this erroneous notion. That after one is abiding in this knowledge, even that repetition is not needed. And in particular, if we say, I know Brahma, so then in Kenopanishad, the Rishi says, think again. Atanu mimamsa mevate. Reflect again, this Brahman is not something which will be known as an object. Okay, so vritti vyapti is needed just to negate everything. Phala Vyapti is not needed because that Pramata itself is negated. You don't again have to claim this knowledge. What remains is Atma. Okay, so this was the last slide. If there are any questions, then you can turn it in. Is Swarga also known through senses ultimately? It is known through senses in the way that there is a different Sharira one gets. Through those sense organs, one could know Swarga. Otherwise, imagine, it's very hard, right? Without sense organs, how will you even enjoy Swarga? Right? All devatas, whoever are there, they are shown as with sense organ only. In fact, they are presiding deities of sense organs. Right? In that way, we should look at it. All right. Hari Om, everyone. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha.